Guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today it's not going to be a vlog. I am going to pick up on where I left off last year with my pregnancy and my baby announcement. So just to start off, there's going to be major triggers. So trigger warning now. It is a little traumatic. Just to start off, I am diabetic. I have been diabetic for 3 years, I believe. If I'm not mistaken. I've never taken care of myself. So prior to my 8-week appointment, I let a diabetic nurse, the one I was seeing previously before my miscarriage, and I had to go see an endocrinologist. So I was seeing both a diabetic nurse and endocrinologist throughout my pregnancy, before my first appointment and throughout my pregnancy. So my A1C, which is my diabetic, I don't even know what it is, but like it's my A1C, and if it's high, it's bad. That's all I know. Right? So my A1C was really high, so I had to do insulin. So I had to do insulin my entire pregnancy since I basically kind of found out I had to do the do insulin 4 times a day, in the morning after breakfast, in the afternoon after lunch, in the night after dinner, and before bed. If I remember correctly, it was 4 times a day. I also had to check my sugars 4 times a day. Before breakfast, once I woke up, after breakfast, after lunch, and after dinner. It was 4 times a day, both insulin and checking my blood sugars, and I had to record them to see what they were. And my goal was always to be, well, the goal I had to be was under 120 after an hour and a half after every meal. And I had to record them, and every week, once a week, I would have a call with my diabetic nurse, and she would ask for those numbers. And if any of those numbers were consistently high after like 2 or 3 days, then she would make me go up on my insulin. It was literally chaotic. It was crazy as hell. Like, and I had to like portion out all my foods. At the very beginning, I would so like for carbs and stuff like that, like I would have rice, right? So it'd be like a 1/3 cup, I believe. I'm not even sure anymore, but it would be like a third. So I would like get a third, and I'll just like measure out my rice like every time, like for my foods. Honestly, it got pretty bad. I am not going to lie. So when I went to my first appointment, they told me, they're like, okay, well, you're diabetic and your A1C is really high. This is not going to look good. This is not looking good. You did have a miscarriage before, so we need to run some tests. We need to do these tests. I believe it was like at 10 weeks, and you can also find out the gender if you'd like to. Throughout these tests, just know that you run a really, really high risk pregnancy. And I was just like, okay. They did the ultrasound. So I ended up taking the test, right? And I took the test, and it came out that everything was clear. Like I had no Down syndrome. Well, the baby didn't have any Down syndrome, any of those like little things. And I also found out the gender, which was a girl. So that's how I found out. Let me go back a little bit, sorry. So when I had to eat, I had to wake up, eat breakfast at 7 in the morning, and then I had to check my blood, and then like an hour and a half after, and then at 10 I had to have a snack, and then at 1 I would have my lunch, and then at 4 I would have a snack, and at 7 I would have dinner. At 7 p.m. I would have dinner, and then at 10 I would have another snack. And throughout that was like literally my schedule. If someone wanted to hang out with me, if someone wanted to go out to eat or something, I would either have to decline, like, no, I can't go, or X, Y, and Z. I literally have to be like, oh, you guys want to go to dinner? Okay, I have to eat dinner at 7. Okay, sounds good. So everybody would make their plans and their eatings, like meals, around me, and I felt so bad. But everybody understood like why I was doing it and why I had to do it. So like I would have to inject myself with insulin prior to like eating, and like I had to eat within those 15 minutes. If I did not eat within 15 minutes of me injecting my insulin, my sugar would drop, and it was chaotic. But yeah, so that would happen, right? So prior to all of this, at the 12-week appointment, my doctor again told me that I was at high risk, you know, high risk of losing the baby, high risk of everything. And if the baby is born, because I am diabetic, the baby needs to be born at least 2 weeks prior. Like my baby was not going to make it full term. That's what they said. They're like, she won't be full term. She will have to be born before, because you are diabetic and she cannot go full term, and you'll most likely have to the baby will most likely have to be in ICU. So when we got out those appointments, like it was honestly not the easiest appointments, because like you're literally being told like high risk, like baby may not make it, ICU. Like, I was stressing. Like, it was so like bad. Fast forward a little bit to the 20-week mark. So 20-week mark, it's the anatomy scan. So I went in for my anatomy scan. So I did that, and then they sent over my results over to the doctor. So the doctor's like, hey, you need to come in. I was like, okay, sounds good. So I go into the doctor's office for my after to see my results of the 20-week scan. And she basically said, your baby is measuring smaller than she should be. And I was just like, okay. She's like, I'm gonna send you to a specialist, and we need to see, like, get better measurements, because, you know, sometimes like the ultrasound technicians here at the hospital is not the best ones, X, Y, and Z, you know, like, we need to go to a specialist to get the exact measurement and see what's going on. Okay, so I was like, okay, sounds good. So of course I come out and I'm stressing, like, what do you mean my baby is not it's not measuring what she's supposed to be measuring? Like, oh my god. I was like, okay. So I ended up going to this doctor. So where my doctor was, she is 20 to 25 minutes away. So now where this other specialist is like 30 minutes away. 30 to 40 actually, 30 to 40 minutes away. So I went, and, you know, the measure, and they're like, oh, she's measuring perfectly fine, like, da 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 da. And it's just, I was just like, oh, okay, like, here's your like results, and then give me a picture, like the ultrasound and everything, right? So I went to, like, oh, talk to the front desk, da da da. So I went to the front desk, and after, I think it was like my 22 week, I had to go in every week, twice a week, just to make sure the baby was fine. So yeah, I was going, right? And I was going to my doctor, and then eventually my doctor, it was really hard. I think I saw her like three times. I saw this doctor my 8 weeks, at my 12 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, and then I saw her at my 20 something weeks, right? She doesn't have any more appointments. Like, she's booked and busy until, like, God knows, until November. And I was like, I'm due in October. Oh, in my head, I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck? Like, oh, but like, this other doctor's available, but that doctor's like about an hour away from you. And I'm like, perfect, that's exactly what I want. So they're like, okay. So I had to go to this other doctor. So this doctor was like 50 minutes, maybe to an hour, depends, right, away from me. So I had to go see him every 2 weeks at this point, right? Because I think at this point I already hit like my 30-week mark. So I have to go 3 times. Sometimes, right, I would go 3 times a week to the doctor, twice to the specialist, and once to my OB. So they had to schedule me in for an induction, right? Because I cannot go for my full term. So they're like, we need to do an induction. I was like, okay. So my first doctor, the one I was going to, that was like 25 to 30 minutes away, that doctor was located at a certain hospital. Let's call it Hospital A. Okay, so when I went to my OB, that was 40 to 50 minutes, let's call that Dr. House. Dr. House was like, oh, okay, so where are you gonna give birth? And I was like, well, at Dr. A's hospital, which is let's call it the hospital gate. And then he's like, oh, okay. And he's like, why that hospital? That one's like one of the furthest ones away from you. And I was just like, well, because Dr. A, my first doctor, said that was the one she was gonna be at, and that's like they had ICU, because my baby's gonna need ICU because I'm diabetic, X, Y, and Z, right? He's like, the hospital doesn't have ICU. And I was just like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, that hospital doesn't have an ICU, so I don't know, like, you would most likely give birth there at the Dr. A hospital. I think I called it gate. He's like, you would have to give birth there, and then your baby would have to get transported to another hospital because they don't have ICU. So you would have to, like, once you recover, like, you would have to go to the other hospital to be with your baby. And I'm just sitting there like, what? Like, what? Like, in my head, I'm like, why would Dr. A tell me that they have ICU? Like, it was so fucking confusing to me. So I said, well, that's not gonna fucking happen. So I asked the doctor, like, is there a possible way we can change this? He's like, yeah, like, oh yeah, like, no worries, like, we can change it to this hospital Tree. And I was like, perfect, let's go to Hospital Tree. Right? He's like, yeah. He's like, let's schedule you in. Let's say we're gonna use simple numbers. Let's schedule you in for October 1st. And I said, perfect. Like, he's like, come in that day. You know, like, this is your time. I think it was like a 9 in the morning we're gonna do an induction, X, Y, and Z. Like, okay, cool. I don't know what the fucking induction is, right? But so, okay, cool. This is what's gonna happen. He's like, the day before, they're gonna call you, I believe, that morning of, and like, you know, they're gonna call you and tell you that there's a bed ready and this and that. I'm like, okay, cool, sounds good. So like, Luis and I were like getting our stuff ready. We're ready, right? We tell everybody like, hey, we're gonna leave this on October 1st. We're gonna leave at like 8 o'clock in the morning because our appointment's at 9. Like, they're like, oh my god, okay, sounds good. Everyone's like, oh my goodness, like, the best of luck, you know, hopefully everything goes well. Like, okay, like, I have nerves, like, literally chills right now, like, nerves, right? Like, okay, that morning we woke up so early because we were stressed. We wanted to shower, we wanted to get ready. Like, that morning we're almost about to head out, and then I hear my phone ring from out, because I was outside with Luis, and I run inside the house. I think it was like at 6 in the morning if I'm not mistaken. And then they're like, hey, like, are you Lisa Rodriguez? And I was like, yeah, this is her. Like, yeah, we don't have any beds available, so we'll have to call you back. Like, we'll have to call you back when there's a bed available. And I was just like, okay, sounds good. Like, if not, like, you can always call back whenever you want. Okay, sounds good. So I was just like, there's no bed available, so what the fuck now? Just have to wait on the call. So we're like, well, I guess let's go back to sleep. And at this point, I think it was really early and we were both really hungry, so like, let's go out to eat. So we went out to eat, and then I ended up calling, I think I ended up calling back the hospital. Like, I guess because it was like the first time they called, it was a shock, right? So I was like, what the fuck? So then I called back and they're like, oh, you're not on the list. I'm like, what do you mean I'm not on the list? They're like, yeah, like, your name is not on here. And I was like, I literally got a call like 2 to 3 hours ago saying that you guys couldn't see me because I did not have there was no bed available. They're like, that's strange. Like, call your doctor. And I was like, bitch, on a fucking, I think it was a Saturday. I was like, on a Saturday? I was like, are you fucking, I was like, okay. So I'm calling the doctor. The office is not fucking open. So I don't know what happened, but like, there was like calls being made everywhere, and I eventually got a call from the doctor, and they're like, and from the nurses at the L&D, right? And they're like, oh, we don't know what happened, but you're back on the list. You're third on the list. And I was just like, okay, what does that mean? We'll call you when there's a ready. I'm like, okay, sounds good. So we were like, I guess we have to continue with our fucking lives. I'm not 100% sure. So we just always kept the bag in the vehicle that we were gonna go give birth in. So we always kept the bag in us just in case, like, whenever they were ready, we would be ready too and just like go. And we stayed local. And I would call, I think I called the next day. Oh no, still a long wait. Okay, hang up. I was literally like that for like over a week. So in my head, I'm not understanding one single thing, because they're telling me that she wasn't supposed to make it full term, that like I needed to give birth ASAP because of my diabetes, all of this stuff, but they weren't prioritizing me to go in. Please, like, none of this was making sense to me. It was really like, what? Okay, you know. So I ended up calling my doctor, and my doctor's like, he eventually was just like, yeah, I have no idea what the fuck is going on. They're like, it's booked over here. Like, we're busy. He's like, if you like, just go into the hospital. Let's say, I don't know. Let's like, just go into the hospital Saturday morning, and, you know, we'll see. You know, just tell them to go in and tell them like to check that the baby's doing okay, because you're like, you know, pushing the limit. So I was like, okay, sounds good. So we woke up that Saturday, or whatever the fuck day it was. We woke up, right? Let's go with the Saturday because it's easier. You know, we woke up. So we grab her, like, the bag was already in the car, right? In the truck, because like, whatever. So we're like, okay, let's go. And I remember I had like, we were getting ready, and Luis had gone to Starbucks, I think the day previously. So he left it in the fridge, and I moved something in the fridge, and the drink fell. So instead of us like leaving right away, the drink had fallen. So we had to like stop, drop what we're doing, and clean up that thing, because it was like everywhere in the freaking kitchen, right? So as we're taking our time cleaning, I had to change my shoes, I had to change my clothes, I believe, because like, it had spilled on me, right? So I was like, oh shit. And I get the call. They're like, hey, are you Lisa Rodriguez? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, okay, like, it's time. I'm like, oh, okay, it's time. Like, yeah, it's time. I was like, okay, like, yeah, you gotta. It was like, I think it was like 11 or like 10, 11. And she's like, you have like about an hour to get here, we'll give you until like 12, right? And we're like, oh, okay, like it's time to go, guys, like it's time. So me and Luis finished cleaning up and we left, and we're so thankful that I dropped the drink, because if not, we would have had already been left, right? So we texted our families like, hey, we're on our way, like we don't know what's gonna happen, but you know, here we are. Okay, so we went to go eat, we went to the hospital, we checked in. That fucking hospital's nurses, the L&D or labor, no, yeah, L&D nurses were literal complete shit. They were so fucking rude, so rude. So rude. They do cervical checks, right? So they put up their fingers up to see how much you're dilated. Those were so painful. Like, I could not allow those to happen. Like, it would be so painful. And this one nurse tried to do the check, right, the cervical check, and I like clenched the fuck up. Like, I like, dude, like, no, it was hurting so bad. And she was just like, sweetie, like, this is just my 2 fingers, this is not even the size of a dick, of a penis. And I'm like, I know that it hurts. Like, also, bitch, take in mind, when you're having sex, it's pleasure. Like, it's gonna open up your vagina. When you're not pleasure, it's gonna hurt. Like, right? They were all nurses. Luis wanted to cuss them out so fucking bad. Like, he was pissed. Like, he was mad. He did not like those nurses. He still doesn't like those nurses. It was getting later, and I said, hey, like, I think you should go get the bags. Like, go get the bags from like the truck. He's like, no, like, we're fine. Like, I'll wait it out. Like, homeboy did not wait until like 12 o'clock at night or 11 o'clock at night, midnight, as you would say. He's like, oh babe, like, you know what, I think I'm gonna get ready for bed now, like I'm gonna go get the bags. I was like, hey, yeah, go get the bags. So he went to go get the bags. I'm like falling asleep, right? Oh, and apparently I have contractions. Oh, because they give me medicine to like hurry up the process of the induction, right, to like open up, get the contractions going, get the whole baby going, right? Okay, cool. So I'm getting contractions. I don't feel shit. Contractions, I'm so sorry. Those that felt it, I'm so sorry. They did nothing to me. The contractions were nothing to me. The cervical checks, though, those bitches got to me. They got to me. Okay, so Luis left, and I'm just like trying to sleep, like, you know, like just laying back trying to sleep. And out of here, 4 to 6 nurses, I want to say it was 5, but you know what, at this point I don't fucking remember. They rush into the room. They rush in, and they're like, turn to your side right now, turn to your side. And I'm just like, what the fuck? And they literally didn't even let me get the chance to like turn to a side. They just fucking turned me. They got the mask, they got the oxygen mask and put it on my face or my nose, whatever. They were like, the baby's heart rate is dropping, and I was just like, and I just let them do what they needed to do, because again, I don't fucking know, right? So I just let them do whatever they need to do, right? So I'm like, okay. And then they were able to like fix the little monitor they have on the baby, like on my stomach. They were able to fix it. They were able to get her heart right up. And they told me, they're like the medicine that we gave you is causing the baby a lot of stress, because you're not opening up and she's just staying there like da, da, da. And I'm like, well, what the fuck do you guys want me to do? Like, in my head I'm like, okay. It's like, we're gonna do a cervical check in like a couple of hours, X, Y, and Z. Okay, I'm like, okay, sounds good. As soon as they left, I think like 1 or 2 nurses stayed back, and Luis walks in, and I'm just looked at him. He's just like what the fuck is going on, right? Because like, take in mind, he had parked so close to the freaking hospital, like so like we can literally see the vehicle from the window, like so close, right? And the elevator wasn't far, none of that stuff, right? He literally didn't even take no longer than 2 minutes. I kid you not, no longer than 2 minutes. And in those 2 minutes that he left, all that shit happened. So when they all left, I started bawling, and Luis is all like, he's like, what happened? So I told him. He's just like, it's okay, like it's okay. He was like comforting me, and I'm just like, I don't know, like I'm just like, it was a lot, right? I said, okay. He's like, you know, like, let's just try to go to sleep, everything's okay now. Like, okay, sounds good. So I ended up trying to go to sleep, and then like the lights were off, Luis was trying to sleep, and I woke up, right? I woke up because something was leaking out of me, right? So I called the nurse, right? And like the nurse comes in and Luis woke up, because I didn't wake him up because I didn't think it was that serious. And he was just like, what the fuck? He's just like, what happened? And the nurse, I told him like, oh, like something's coming out of me. And she goes, oh, you peed. And I was just like, oh, okay. I've never had a pee accident, but okay. She goes, oh, you peed. And I was just like, oh, okay. So she's like, let me clean you up. And I was just like, yeah, sure, whatever, right? So she's cleaning me up. She goes, oh no, you pooped. And I was like, huh? I was like, huh? Bitch, what do you mean I pooped? What the? Okay, now you're pushing it, right? So I was like, what? I was like, okay. So my camera died, so I'm gonna pick up from where I remember I left off. So I was just like, what is it then? So she ended up cleaning me up, and she checked and she goes, oh no, you know what? Your water broke. And I was just like, okay. Because my first time like experienced this, like, I don't know how it feels like when your water breaks, right? So I was just like, okay. And then she goes, oh, like, you didn't poop. Like, obviously I got that one, right? And she goes, I think the baby might have pooped in you. And like, that's what came out. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like, it was so strange because I've also like never really heard of the babies pooping. I know the women poop sometimes if like they're pushing too hard during birth, right? So I was just like, oh, okay. And she's like, yeah, but it's like everything's fine. I was like, okay. And they literally let it go. Like, it was like around 1 in the morning, right? So another nurse comes in and she's just like, so like, what are you trying to do? Like, well, we can also do C-section and this and that, like if you don't want to wait it out. She's like, okay. And I think at this time it was like around 5 or 6 in the morning. So Louise was like, why don't you just call your mom and ask her what she thinks? And I was like, oh, okay. I told her, I was like, hey mom, like, so this is going on. So Evergo checks her like a bitch and you know, like told her. And I was like, yeah, my water broke and like she pooped herself, right? And mom was like, oh, that's not good. And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, yeah, like if the baby pooped herself, that means she's stressed. Like, that's not good. The baby's gonna end up eating its poop, and like it's gonna cause an infection. Like, my mom, she is not a nurse. She does work in the medical pharmacy, right, field, but she's not a nurse. So the fact that my mom, who is not a nurse, is telling me this, I was just like, really? She's like, yeah, like this happened to X person. And I was just like, okay. So I was like heading towards a C-section, and Luis is like, do whatever you think is gonna be best. He's like, it's whatever, right? So then I talked to the doctors, I talked to more nurses, I talked to the doctor, and I ended up making a decision like, well, I'm gonna do the C-section because she already pooped. I'm not dilating. Like, it's I think at this point it was like 10 o'clock out in the morning. Ooh, could be making that one up. 10 o'clock in the morning, and by the time I wait for her to be ready to like come out, oh, someone's so excited over there. Like, I don't know what time that's gonna be. So like, how much longer is she gonna be in me with the poop? I was like, no, we gotta do this. Like, we gotta do this now. So like, okay. So the doctor came in. He's like, hey, I heard you want to do a C-section. Is that true? And I said, yep. And I was like, okay. And then he told me like C-section stuff, and I was like, yeah. And I'm not kidding you, they got me ready so fucking fast. I was just like, holy shit. Like, yeah, like we're about to do this. Like, we had to put our, I think I had to put like a some type of different gown. Luis had to wear like this whole white suit. So they basically told us like, this was gonna happen. We're gonna take her in first, you're gonna wait outside, we're gonna call you in, and then, you know, have the phone ready, camera ready, 'cause it's gonna happen all so fast, right? And like, okay, sounds good. So I'm nervous. So before we go in, they told me, you gotta take this shot. It was a shot, and I was just like, I tasted it. I was like, oh shit. And I was gagging. And she was like, the faster you get the shot done, like, you know, you have to take it. Like, you have to take it. Like, it's one of those like requirements for C-section. I was just like, okay. Don't ask how the fuck I did that. And I took it. I was like, wanted to throw up. We walked to the OR room, I think. I don't even know. And we walked to the OR room, and Luis, they're like, okay, wait here, like, Dad, like, we're gonna come and get you. So I went in, and then they had to do the anesthesia, the epidural, and they're like, okay, like, you're gonna feel a little pinch, but like, that's it, like, I don't know why, but this guy did it like 5,000 times. My feet were literally like tingling. Like, I literally felt my legs spaz, my back spaz. It was like crazy amount of spazzing. It was like, I was like, oh shit. I even said, oh shit, like, holy fuck, right? Because my understanding was like epidural was fast and it was like not painful, right? They laid me down and like put things up. So I don't know if all C-sections are the same, but they gave you like little, they opened up little like alcohol wipes to let you smell it. Oh my god, right? So they're doing it, they call the dad, and the dad's like, do you have the phone ready? He's like, yeah. So then they call up the time she was born, and he's like taking, I don't know, honestly I don't know, but I was just like, give me the alcohol. Like I was just laying there like, give me the alcohol, and the guy was like, another one, and then like another one. I was just like, oh my god. At some point they told Luis to do it for the nurse, right, because he had to do something else. So I was like, give me the alcohol. He's like this is a new one. I was like, no, I need more. Like give me, like, I just needed to smell the alcohol because I thought I was gonna fucking like literally pass out. As this is happening, she is already out. She's already like, you know, and I don't hear her cry. Actually, I was just like, why isn't she crying? Why isn't she crying? And then like, I hear the little like squeezing bottle, and they're like, oh, like they're trying to take out the liquid out of her lungs. And I was just like, fuck. And I was just like, okay. And like, don't worry, like everything's okay. This and that. I was like, okay, sounds good. And that's all that kept going. And I thought Luis was there the entire time, but apparently he told me that he got kicked out at some point. I don't remember. Honestly, I don't remember much, but he said he was kicked out. I just remember the nurse coming to me and it was all like, what, the baby? I couldn't see the baby. I just remember her telling me like, hey, the baby doesn't want to feed. And I was just like, okay. It's like, and if she doesn't want to be fed, if she doesn't want to feed, we're gonna have to put her in the NICU. And I was just like, yeah, I know. I said that because my understanding was that she was gonna be in the NICU this entire time, right? It's like, okay, so they took her back to the little like thing they have going on for her, right? So I'm like getting sewed up. I don't fucking remember, right? I'm getting sewed up, and they're like, she's feeding, and they're like, yeah, that's so good, like you're doing so good, mama. And I'm just like, I don't fucking know. Like, okay, like let's wheel you out, and this and that. I was like, next thing you know, the nurse is like, I can't move, right, because I'm laying down, but I can hear Luis, and he's like, you did so good, mom. Like, she's like, you did so good, like she's okay, like she's okay, she's right here, like I have her, like we're doing good, like she's like, you're okay, like thank you. And I was just like, like I don't know what the fuck was going on. I just wanted to throw up so bad. And then he was with her because like we have this plan that he had to be with her no matter what. I didn't care, so he was with her this entire time. They're like touching my legs, they're trying to make me like, you know, gain conscience of my body, like to come back. And yeah, they put me back into the room, and she did not need to go to the NICU. She was perfectly fine. She was perfect. Like she was literally perfect. I was just like, thank you, God. And yeah, I was at the hospital. I gave birth. And the next day, like the very next day, they're like, you want to go home? And I was like, the fuck, bitch? Like, you guys just closed me up not even 24 hours ago. You're already trying to kick me out of here. I was like, no. Like, I would like to stay here a little longer. What the fuck? So, yeah, I eventually ended up going home, I think it was like 2 days after. I don't really remember. But, yeah, I was in so much pain. Like, my C-section cut hurt so bad. I was so sore. You know what? I randomly still get pains on my C-section. People say that they get pain on their back for like where the needle went in for their C-section, but I don't have no back pain, nothing like that. It's more like the C-section cut here and there. Recovery sucked, but my baby was able to come home with us. She was perfectly fine. She fed. She's good. She's still good right now. And yeah, that was my birth story, my pregnancy journey, whatever you want to call it. It was, obviously there was more details I did not include, but it was definitely something. Me and Luis talked about it, and he says that for him, the most traumatic experience was the C-section part. He said that was, I wish he was here to tell you guys his side, but he said it was the most traumatic thing he's ever experienced. He did not like that experience at all. And now my baby turns 1 next month, and we are so happy and we're so excited and we love her to freaking death. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you guys made it to the end, I appreciate you guys. If you guys are a mom, I appreciate you. Even if you're a dad, I appreciate you guys there for being there for your partners, because it is so hard. And yeah, we got this, and hope you guys have a good day. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.